Celebrity interview on Sunrise FM.
Sunrise 103.4 FM, and we've got Alex Seth on the line, and we are going to be chatting about his work, his latest horror film, The Castle. And let's welcome Alex Seth to the Chill Zone with Miss M.
Thank you, Miss M. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your show. How's things going on this weekend?
It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon in Durban, and we're enjoying the fun that happens with the festivities of Halloween. I know you're out of Durban at the moment. How did it all begin, from Irish Circusin to Alex Seth?
What's the duration of this show? I mean, is it 5 hours? Well, you know, when I was young, I always wanted to do things in entertainment. You know, I always wanted to put out a record, and that was my main goal. You know, going through my studies and stuff, that was my main intention. And when I told everyone, they kind of brushed it off and said, you know, look, focus on your studies. This is not a thing that, you know, when I was growing up, there weren't many Indian celebrities, or the industry wasn't a vibrant. Well, it's still not that vibrant, but it wasn't what it is today, you know. I eventually got into the studio. I did a record, and I got signed to T-Series India. And when it came time, and that was thanks to Dan Suraj, who was the director of Universal Music. You know, I saw him in the paper one day, and I looked at my producer, Paul Steinbeck, and I said, "Sign me." And, you know, we kind of giggled it off, but I got in touch with him. And, you know, he ended up, you know, liking the record, sending it to India. And, you know, I signed the deal. With them. And it was one of my proudest moments. Then when it came to choosing a name, Alex Seth is with the L. It's an L and X, and it's S-E-T-H. A lot of people associate Seth with Christianity, but it's actually got a wide variety. So when you go back to my, my ancestors' home in Bukhara, on the tree was written the LX, and the bottom said. So, you know, I kind of took that name, I adapted it, and that's where the Alex Seth thing, and that's where I had my first number one, would turn me on. And, you know, since then I've produced 8 records.
Lovely, amazing stuff. Rolling Stone recognized you as a pop star. That's some major recognition. What do you feel has been your greatest accomplishment thus far?
It's insane when you grow up on these magazines and that sort of thing, and then, you know, Rolling Stone essay, comes in and they want to do a piece on you, and, you know, it's one of those things that's, it's such a proud moment for yourself, you know, because Rolling Stone is such a big part of pop culture. And if you look at things like MTV and all of the things we grew up on, and to have a little bit of that, you know, on your CV, or have a little bit of that, you know, beside you, is absolutely amazing. So it was incredible.
Technology is always evolving, the effects of which affect cinema. In particular, change was necessary because of COVID. How has this affected your work in the creative industry?
Well, you know, it's an interesting question, because that's what kind of pushed me into making movies and producing movies, is that you used to go out and you used to sell physical copies of CDs, and then the industry changed. I mean, Steve Jobs and iTunes changed the industry so drastically that it eventually it got to a point where, number one, piracy was taking over, and secondly, people didn't need a physical copy anymore. Now we're at a point where you don't need anything. You know, I remember waiting for weeks for a record to drop or album to drop, and then suddenly, you know, waiting in the line at Musica or at Rhythmic Beat or one of these CD stores, and getting there and there wouldn't be a copy, and you'd be so disappointed. But now when an album drops, it's on your phone at 12 a.m. And that's really what pushed me into the movie industry. So my first movie was The Curse of Highway Sheila. I produced that. And then I went on to do Toklush The Calling, and which is doing absolutely amazing at the moment. And, you know, recently, I just finished shooting The Castle, which is a psychological thriller. But to answer your question, it's a very different game, and it's a very exciting time to be a filmmaker or an entertainer in general. A lot of people say, look, but the market is saturated now because it's easier, because now you can just take your product and you can put it anywhere for people to consume, right?
Yeah.
So with avenues like TikTok and social media and all of these things, it's just opening up the market so you can find more talent. Yes, the market is saturated with a lot of talent, whether it's good or not, but it just gives anyone who's got something real a better chance of being found. Remember, a lot of people forget that Justin Bieber was found on YouTube by Usher. So, yeah.
In parts of the world, October 31st is known as Halloween. In consideration of this, tell us about your various horror films that you've been a part of. I know at the moment you're working on The Castle.
Yeah. We just wrapped on The Castle. I'm really proud of that project. The last horror film I did, well, the first one I did was The Curse of Highway Sheila, which did really well in box office. It was, I think it was a number one for, I think, 4 weeks or something. And then before that, I just released The Curse of Highway Sheila. Top Push the Calling. The crazy thing about Top Push the Calling is we had the premiere. We did all the things. We were going to launch it on Amazon Prime in the States on 14th Feb, which is Valentine's Day. And then COVID hit and shut us down. And then what happened was we picked it up. We waited. What happened there was suddenly big streaming cinematic films was now moving to streaming platforms. And we just didn't want to compete. We just didn't want to compete with big Hollywood films. So we decided to pull the project and wait for everything to kind of simmer down and let the industry pick up again, let people start moving around again. And now we've kind of re-released it in the States. So you can find it anywhere and everywhere on all horror sites, and it's nominated for 7 Simon Sabella Awards, and it's been to TIFF, and it's done all these amazing things for a local horror movie that we're quite proud of. Myself and the director, Richard Green. Now, The Castle, now I produced those 2 projects. The Castle will be my directorial debut. It'll be the first movie I'm directing, so I'm really proud of that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're busy cutting that and we're busy putting it out. And it's a horror movie / psychological thriller that my mind is quite twisted. So it's all the things that I've always wanted to do. And I've had a great team behind me making it happen. So I'm doing the movie with Dr. Raj Singh, if people know him. He's a dermatologist. He's very passionate about films, passionate about movies. He's got a movie called African Renaissance Movies. He's come on board to kind of help with the project and that sort of thing. So yeah, very, very excited about The Castle. Probably be in cinemas in a few months. So I hope everyone's excited. I'm definitely going to invite you to the premiere.
Oh, we're looking forward to that one. As a horror film fanatic in general, what is your favorite horror film?
Well, if you ask me straight off the bat, it's got to be the Scream trilogy. I know it's more than a trilogy now, and there's a reboot coming, but the original 3 I thought was just amazing. And Wes Craven is such a genius. And if you look back on it, the stuff that I grew up on was, Halloween. Freddy Krueger used to scare the bejeebers out of us, when you were young. And you watch it now, and it's not that scary. Because remember, technology has moved on so much. When you look at it, you go, was I really scared of that? Chucky was really great. Child's Play was really great. So those are the kind of things we watch. But if you want to go, what is your favorite? I think it would be the original Scream trilogy.
All right. With 3 degrees, you must definitely defy public perception and stereotypes of those of us within the creative industry.
It wasn't something I planned. It's something that came about when I was doing all of these things, like doing Off the Hook and recording my first album. My parents said, stay in school because they weren't sure what was going to happen. They were like, just hold back and do your thing. And I went and got a Bachelor of Social Science. And I was always passionate about psychology. And even if you look at my movies, they're always psychological thrillers. They have twists in them. They're very like M. Shyamalan Nights movies. They've got a twist to them. They're not just straight up horror. So I went on to do my honors in psychology, and then I was doing so much of business in the industry. It only became natural to go ahead and do the MBA, which I actually got when I was 25. I'm quite proud of that.
Wow.
So it was just a natural part of everything. I just while doing everything, I kept myself busy by doing multiple things. So I don't think it's defying the industry, because I know a lot of people in the industry who do both things. who are head of industry. They've got all these degrees and do entertainment as well.
Yeah,
So it's
definitely
something
not
that's
defying
uncommon.
industry, but defying public perception of those of us within the industry.
100%. I think people think that if you sing or whatever, that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
But I think that you would understand because I know that you're multifaceted. That if you look at it, we are doing a lot of things in this industry. It's not just one thing. You know, you got your
Absolutely.
fingers everywhere. And I guess you have to because it's not like you remember, back in the day when you put out a single or you put out a record. I mean, in America, you've got 52, 53 states to release and tour, and that's how you make your money, right? You've got 50 states, and then you got the rest of the world consuming it as well. And that's how they became popular, One CD or one album would take 4 or 5 years to tour, and that would be your bread and butter. So here it's very difficult, and also you get paid off your royalties. Here it's quite different in terms of musicians and that sort of thing. You've got to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
You've got to keep yourself busy. And now that technology has evolved, and everyone now is a content creator. That's the word that's being coined. It's even more important to do a lot of things. But growing up, I used to always look at Ryan Seacrest. I don't know if you remember. He did everything, right? He was a producer. He was a radio host. He started keeping up with the Kandasamy. He had multiple jobs. And I remember thinking to myself, that's such a cool thing. He's just everywhere, busybody, And I think if you can manage your time, I think it's quite possible to have multiple revenue streams and have multiple jobs.
Yeah. You're a young person within the Indian community, and you know firsthand the comments we experience when trying to break boundaries. How do you support other young creatives?
Well, firstly, I think it's a work ethic. I think that in order, and it was very difficult for me as well in the start, and it still is. It's sad that so many years later, it still is a big thing. I mean, movies like Keeping Up with the Kandasamis and stuff have broken boundaries for us to say, look, we can do it. We're big box office draws and that sort of thing. But if a youngster really wants to get into the industry, it's about work ethic. It's about getting out there. It's not about being seen in the papers and having your family members read it and being proud of you. It's more than that. It's about consistent product. And it's about evolving that product. It's about doing one thing and going, look, what's the longevity of this? Where is my career going to project to in 5 or 10 years? And that's the kind of advice I would give. And that's the advice I do give to my kids. I don't have kids, I've got students. So, yeah.
We love our children, extended kids. Thank you so much, Alex, Seth, for joining us in studio today.
Thank you for having me, and I hope you have I'm going to go watch the cricket now. I'm a big cricket supporter. I'm going to watch the T20. What do you have planned for the rest of the weekend?
I want to relax with all the multi-jobs that I have. I need to rest.
I just want to say, can I say one thing before I go?
Of course.
I just want to tell all your listeners and all the youth that are listening to this show, please go out and vote tomorrow. It's an important thing. A lot of people have died in order for you to have this opportunity to put an X on a piece of paper, and it's your democratic right. So please go out and do it. I know you may not feel as if it's worthwhile, but trust me, it is. And it's not about who you vote for. It's about the act itself. And hopefully you have someone in mind, right? Thank you, Ms. M.
Thank you for coming online and joining us on Sunrise 103.4 FM. Absolutely a pleasure to have you with us. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Sunrise FM 103.4 FM.